Well, if you've been around me very much at all, you'll know that I love coffee. I've basically become a bit of a coffee snob, coffee nerd, if you will. And I'm really excited because I recently acquired another tool, if you will, that was designed to help people brew coffee in a pretty cool way. It's this little thing right here. Actually, here I'm welcoming you to my coffee lab. I've got my grinder here, my heated tea kettle here, gooseneck kettle. But this simple little thing right here that you literally place over top of a mug, and you put a filter in, and the coffee grinds in, and you literally pour the hot water at just the right temperature, at just the right timing and amount of time, and just the right motion. And it actually creates a pretty amazing cup of coffee. In fact, this has been a game changer. It's like the best cup of coffee I've ever had coming from this. This is a Hario V60. And I don't even know if I'm saying the name right because I just bought this Hario V60. But what I'm amazed at is as I researched it, and because I'm a bit of a coffee nerd, I wanted to see what else was out there to help you brew a good cup of coffee, because I wanted to create something different than what I've been experiencing. And what I found is a very simple, almost looks like another mug with a hole in the bottom of it with these spirals. To me, it seemed kind of random, but the more I researched it, this little glass with a little mug handle on it is designed very intentionally to allow airflow to happen between the filter and the actual glass itself. And it's designed for water to flow a certain way at a certain speed, to be able to give the one making the cup of coffee a lot of freedom to make it as strong as they want, as complex as they want. It's a pretty amazing design, actually. And the reason I'm telling you about all of this is because as we begin this journey together that we're calling A Conversation About Life, the 3 circles, as we begin this together, we start with circle number 1, which is God's design. And truth is true whether you believe it or not. And you may be watching this, and you may be sitting in small group, and you don't know what you believe about God or spiritual things. You may not even believe that God exists. And if He does exist, you don't know what to believe about Him. And what I would say to you is that truth is still true whether you believe it or not. I believe the Bible is authoritative. I believe it is completely accurate. And I believe in decades of living by it, I have seen it proven over and over again to be true. And God's design of the universe, God's design of humanity is true whether you believe it or not. He designed humanity, which is really cool. The first 4 words of the entire Bible are actually profound when you think about it. They are, in the beginning, God. God. He always has been, He is, and He always will be. And the verses following that very first 4 words of the Bible explain in just one chapter how God spoke the universe into existence, but also how He created humanity. And He created humanity very uniquely. He says that He created man, He created humanity in His image. The only thing He created that is given that characteristic. We're created in the very image of God. We are image bearers of God. God made you, and God gave you His image to bear. Even if you don't even believe He exists, even if you don't know what to think about God or religious things, if you will, these things are true. And when He made everything, He said it was good. Even at one point after He made humanity, He said it was very good. What God created was awesome. It was awesome. It still didn't have disease and darkness and evil and all the stuff that we see in this world that we find very difficult. When God designed the universe and when He designed humanity, it was good. It was awesome. Everything was awesome, in the words of Lego the movie. And I love this verse in Genesis 3:8 where we see that God was walking in the cool of the day, and actually Adam and Eve hid from Him. And in just that one verse, we see a bit of a spoiler alert to what we'll talk about next week, because something came into play in this great story of life that caused everything that was awesome to no longer be awesome. But everything was awesome. God designed the universe, and He created the universe, and He created you. And so what I want you to be thinking about is what do you believe about that? Do you believe this to be true? Do you come to understand that God actually exists, and that He made you, and that He designed the whole universe, but also that He made you for a purpose, that He has a purpose for your life? These are little baby steps spiritually to begin to think about. There's a passage in Romans 1 that's actually it's harsh. It's pretty hardcore. The Apostle Paul penned these words to the believers, to the church in Rome, and he said, hey, no one is without excuse. There's no excuse for anyone not believing in the existence of God, because all of creation testifies to His existence. All of creation, everything you see around you, points to the fact that there is a great designer. And I would even submit to you a verse in Ecclesiastes 3:11 says that God had put eternity into the hearts of humanity, of each person. It's almost as if God created within us this hole in our soul that only He can fill, that only living out His purpose, living in His presence can fulfill. We were designed to walk with God. We look all the way in Genesis 3:8, and here we see Adam and Eve at one point being able to walk with God in the cool of the day, and now they're hiding from Him. And like I said, we'll get to that next week, but let's just stop there to pause to embrace these truths that God designed the universe. He created everything, and He created you, and He created you with a purpose. And it's true whether you believe it or not. And here's the thing, when truth, it might be true whether you believe it or not, but when you become convinced of truth, you can be changed by truth. Let me say that again. When you can become convinced of truth, it is then that you will be changed by truth. It's true, but do you believe it? It's true, but are you convinced of it? And as you discuss and pray together in your small group, maybe that's something you can talk about. You can talk about, like, so how does understanding and knowing that God created everything impact my day-to-day life? How can that cause me to think differently? How can that cause me to live differently? If you've already embraced those truths, in what ways has that impacted you? Maybe you have been embracing that truth for a very long time, but maybe someone else in the group hasn't, and they're still wrestling with that or thinking about that. How has that impacted you? What have you come to discover is God's purpose for your life? What are some things you're noticing lately that sort of play into, I believe God has purposed me for fill in the blank? What have you been seeing even in the last week or month that show you God's purpose for your life? Here's the thing. God created the universe. He created you. He made you to walk with Him. He has a plan for your life. And that can't have any impact on your life unless you believe it. So do you believe it? And how is that impacting you? Enjoy your discussion and prayer time as a group as you realize and come to understand in this great story of life that God designed you.